What's up, everybody, and welcome to the NOBS Real Estate Show, a podcast that gives you an inside look on how to make smart financial decisions while adding value to your life. I'm Matty Miller with ERA Real Estate, alongside my co-host and real estate investor extraordinaire, Ryan Robbins. Whether you're a long-time investor or a first-time buyer, join us as we dig through the everyday bullshit of real estate. Ryan Robbins.
Hey, happy Monday.
You sound excited.
I am super excited.
Super jacked for a Monday. Well, we're recording at an abnormal time because I have some things that I have to do tomorrow morning that I cannot get out of, although I would like to, but I cannot get out of them. So we just decided to record on Monday night. It's about 5:45. I'm getting ready to go mow the lawn after this. That's why I have a backwards hat on and a t-shirt. Because I was too lazy to do it yesterday because I was working on Sunday.
That's what you get.
Yeah, well, it happens. So
now you get to work on Monday, too.
Right, exactly. So, how was your weekend?
Weekend was good. I helped install a fence, part of a fence, I should say, so around the house. So that was good. It was a long time coming.
Okay, so you needed a new fence. Gotcha. You know, I have contractors for that.
Yeah,
you like doing that work, though, don't you?
I hired a couple guys for it. That's why I said
okay.
I started to say I installed it. I helped them disassemble the fence that was there.
There it is. There it is. Okay.
I picked up the material. I made a few Home Depot trips, so that counts for something, right? I got my workout in either way.
Sure, you got your workout in. That's good.
So
yeah. Somebody asks me all the time, like, why don't you pay somebody to mow your lawn? I'm like, because if not, I'd just be fatter. Like, I need the workout, man. It is a good workout. I am on three quarters. Sure. I am on 3/4 of an acre over here. It is a workout to mow my lawn. Like, it is probably.
And you push mow it.
I push mow. I refuse to buy a rider. I make myself. It is the front takes me about an hour and 20 minutes. By the time it's all said and done, and the back takes me about 2 hours. It takes about 3 hours to mow the lawn. And that's mowing, weed eating, and blowing it all off. And that's a workout.
That's moving.
So that's my goal, is if I hired somebody, I wouldn't get that workout in.
No.
So there you have it.
Hey.
And you can't tell me as a normal human being you don't have 3 hours to cut your grass. You know, I go out there, I put some music on, I listen to a couple of podcasts, not ours, somebody else's. I've listened to ours before, but I typically don't want to rehear myself again. But I go out and, have a good time. It's real fun. Sweat my balls off. And
slowly getting over that, listening to ourselves and watching ourselves. It's like one of the things when you don't do it often, the first few times you watch yourself or re-listen to yourself, it's, oh gosh, cringeworthy.
Cringeworthy, absolutely. And that's the thing about it is the more you do it and the more you watch yourself. Like I'm a football player, came from that background, so we watch film. So I do need to make sure I go back and listen to ourselves occasionally to make sure that we just don't come off as idiots. That's kind of the point. If I come off as an idiot and I listen to myself and I go, man, that was stupid. Ooh, what was I talking about? The bad news is somebody else is probably going to think the same thing. So, and there are people that are going to think the same thing regardless, but that's fine. It's okay. I'm just putting my 2 cents out there, my 1 cent out there for me, but either way. So, what are we talking about today, speaking of which?
What are we talking about?
Yeah, what are we talking about today? What are we bringing? We
haven't talked about anything real estate wise yet. What I wanted to cover, kind of mention briefly. We didn't obviously do a lot of research on this, mostly because it's kind of what we do on the day to day. But as we connect more with investors around the country, everybody's looking for an investment property here. One of the first questions I ask all the time is, what's going to make you say yes? What's going to make you say yes to, that property that we bring you? So what is it basically boils down to? What's your criteria? So I figure let's break down how an investor would look for criteria.
Okay, and I will start with the question that I get mostly.
Well, hey, I'm going to cut you off real quick. I just want to make sure.
You're so mean to me.
I know. I'm good with this.
Yeah.
Are you recording video on Skype? I don't see anything going.
I'm actually not. So you know what? We're going to go ahead and start that now. So we're going to turn that on, and Actually, they changed the settings here, so
that's
it's
what
not
I
in
was
the
going to
same
say.
place.
Normally I see it. I'm like looking
Yep.
around, like, where is
Okay,
this?
and now we're good. So,
Good.
or it's starting to go. So anyway, well, yeah, we started now, so we're here. So anyway,
we're
but
live.
no one really on YouTube ever wanted to watch the first 3 minutes of that, so it was fine. No big deal. So Ryan Robbins, Matty Miller, we're both here. So on the TV broadcast or TV or YouTube, whatever we want to call it, we're here. So talking about what's finding your criteria for a rental property. This doesn't have to do with Jacksonville, but we're going to give Jacksonville examples anyway, just to kind of give people an idea what's going on. So, yeah, basically the first conversation that I get is, hey, I'm thinking about investing in rental property in Jacksonville, Florida, and it's like, okay, well, what are you looking for? And a lot of people say, well, something that cash flows. All right. Be perfectly honest with you. Everything will cash flow if you get it at the right price.
And the kicker is everybody's cash flow preference is different.
Correct. And there's people that are very risky, like somebody who wants to go. And a lot of people we talk to come off of the bigger pockets verbiage. So they know the 1% rule. They know cap rates. They know what they're looking for. So the 1% rule for me is pretty simple. And that's probably the easiest, KPI, I guess, key performance indicator of a property that I can look at. And actually, I have recently did a Jacksonville zip code kind of snapshot, if you will, just kind of based on, basically breaks down every zip code in Jacksonville and what the 1% rule is, what a cap rate would be. The cap rates are kind of hard to make sense of because they're just it's an average sale. It's not each property. So the 1% rule is probably going to get you closer to a zip code idea of what you can get. So a lot of people talk to us and say, well, I want to buy a property. I have $50,000 to spend. Okay, do you want to use all that $50,000 on one property, or do you want to take 25 of that and buy two properties and cash flow a different way? So everybody's got their own philosophy. Hey, if I'm going to buy a house cash, I don't want to have a mortgage on it. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I want. And that's depending on how much cash they actually have. So it all breaks down differently for everyone.
Yeah, and I think that's probably, as an investor, should be your first question, because it's not necessary. At the end of the day, it's real estate. Yes, you want to get a good deal. Yes, but it's an investment like anything else. If you're going to go buy a stock, if you're going wherever you're going to place your money for some sort of return, you're doing it with the expectation of, I want to make X amount. So it's not, I want the best, piece of property ever. I want it to, appreciate and do this and do that. There's people that buy specifically for, I'm okay with a 6% return on this money.
Yep.
I'm okay with, X amount of cash flow. And that's really what, from our standpoint, when we talk to investors, we can find you properties. That's not the issue. Just like when we're working with a retail buyer, we're going to go into a property. What's going to make you say yes? If you give me, your criteria, and now we present a property that meets your criteria, and you're not saying yes, well, what else? What else is it?
So comparing it to working with a buyer comes in and says, I want 2,000 square foot, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, granite countertops, a large backyard that's fenced in for my pooches, and I want to be in a subdivision and preferably on a cul-de-sac. Okay, now we have 7 different things that we're going off of. Now let's compare that to an investor. An investor comes in and says, hey, I want a property probably under $120,000 that's going to get me about 7% return, and I don't want it in a D-class neighborhood. I want like a C or a B-class neighborhood, and I want it to rent for, whatever. I want to get my return on. If you're at 7% cap rate or whatever you're at, you're probably looking at, probably 0.7 on the 1% rule, somewhere in there. So that's just guessing. So I can actually look at this zip code cheat sheet that I have, and I can actually share this on the screen, to be perfectly honest with you, if I really wanted to.
That's what we should be doing.
We can share this real quick.
You see giving away all the secrets.
Yep. So this is not exact. I have some things that I need to change. So basically, we can look at some zip codes that I like to pick out. I like 32244, which is southwest side of Jacksonville. over across the river. Your average rent this is now average rent on rentals in that area, so keep that in mind. So this is an average rent on rentals in the area. So I basically pulled the MLS, took all the rentals off of there, which is probably about 60 homes in each zip code in the last year. So the average rental over there, square footage wise, average rent wise is about $1,236. It's basically a 3-2, 1,500 square foot, a little bit over 1,500. And then we moved to the average sale price of properties in that area that would qualify as rentals. And what I did was so I basically took sales in that neighborhood at $160,000, and then also if they had to be within 1,700 square foot to 1,300 square foot. So basically broke that down in the square footage numbers for those properties that sold in that square footage range in that zip code sold for about $160,000. So average sale per square foot, $103. Basically, the 1% rule is going to show us about 0.77 of what we're at. So we're a little bit below that 1%. There are areas in Jacksonville that get well above the 1% rule. However, let's be very this red line here in the middle that everybody's looking at here. Ignore that because that needs to be fixed. So there was definitely some mistakes there. If there's an approximate cap rate of 36%, we probably need to go buy some property there. So I don't know. My assistant did this, and it's a little bit jacked up, so I'll figure that out at some point. But I just haven't had time to get to it yet. But 32208 and 09 are two of the predominant zip codes in Jacksonville, which we have a W word that we like to refer to them at, and we kind of call them a war zone at times. There's a lot of it's very rough neighborhoods, but you can pick up some property for, like, the average sale price in 09 was $43,000. The average sale price in 08 is $83,000, so almost double that price range, but still very, very low for the average sale in the United States as well as Jacksonville. So the other zip code is 54. You're getting a 1.47, 1.12, and 1.88 respectively on those three zip codes. And that's what a lot of people see when they see Jacksonville and they start running numbers, is they see these areas here that those are the worst neighborhoods. And that's unfortunate. And, some of them are getting better. Some of them aren't. Where we like neighborhoods to be, I really like that. If I can get, 0.8, if I can get high 0.7s to high 0.8s, I'm probably getting a C-class neighborhood that's not bad. I'm not having tenant problems. I'm not having a ton of turnover. That's where I would like to focus at.
So let's break it down a little bit. I'm going to.
Do you want to go through and explain to somebody who doesn't know what the 1% rule is?
So it's essentially 1% of the purchase price as a monthly rent. So if I was going to spend $100,000 on a property, and I can rent that property for $1,000 a month, which would be 1% of the 100,000.
1%.
Consider that that's the 1% rule. Correct. That's the short and sweet version of it. And that's,
so if we're looking at
statistically, if you can find a rental or purchase a property and rent it for that quote unquote 1%, doesn't really matter what the price is. You could buy a $500,000 rental, and if it's going to rent for $5,000 a month, it's still the 1% rule. Still
1%. Yep. So, yeah. So that's basically. And if you're looking at the spreadsheet here, like I'm going down to something that's very close to 1%. The 1% rule. The average rent in 32207 in Jacksonville, Florida, is about $1,386, and the average sale price of properties in that area that are very close to the rental parameters is $135. So that's the closest 1.02% that we're referring to. If you're watching the YouTube version, if you're not, then sorry, tough cookies. Go check us out. We have a YouTube channel. We don't have a Facebook page yet, but we're working on it. So the 1% rule is probably the biggest thing we use. There are other calculators on Bigger Pockets. There are other calculators other people use to break that stuff down. Everybody kind of has their own idea on how to run numbers on investment property, and that's fine. Like I said, everybody has their own philosophy on how to do it. I feel like in the investor stage at this point in the world, with social media and with everything that's around, if you're an investor and you're actively looking at stuff, I'm pretty sure that Bigger Pockets is probably a place that you visited. Pretty sure. So just, we're avid fans of Bigger Pockets. We listen to their podcasts. We listen to their stuff. We're active on their forums as well. We believe that a lot of stuff that they have generated in the past years is relevant to every market in the United States. So, and if it's not, judge me on it. Call me out. Let's do it. Let's
so
battle.
I'm going to break down just number-wise for everybody. Doesn't necessarily have to be on your screen there, but I'm going to go through a little bit.
I'm going to stop sharing this, by the way. So
okay.
Get back to my beautiful face.
Whew. I was missing that. Was missing that face.
Rough look, huh? Rough look, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, back to this.
One thing I'm still trying to get used to here is normally have a conversation. I'm not used to smiling or keeping some sort of face while we're chatting or doing other things. And it's like I look at the YouTube video later and I'm like, boy, I'm making all sorts of faces. Not
I try to focus on the camera typically.
Yeah.
I don't want to look at you most of the time. I want to look at our audience rather than you. So I try to just shift my eyes a little bit up here. Yeah, just saying, not trying to be mean, but
so I'm going to break it down and I'm going to do this out while we're live here. So don't know how the numbers are going to trickle out, but using the 1% rule, let's take a $150,000 property. Okay. And we're going to say that we want to put 20% down on that. So you're going to buy a rental for $150,000. 20% of that $150,000 is $30,000. Okay. So again, this is where leveraging some of your money comes into play. If you saved up $30,000, now we're going to take that $30,000. You can invest it into, buying stocks of Apple or buying shares of, Amazon, whatever that may be, or maybe again you want to dive into real estate. So let's take that $30,000. Let's buy a $150,000 property. We're going to put $20,000 down, and we're going to mortgage $120,000. And I did just real quick on mortgage calculator. $120,000 at 5% over 30 years. We're going to just use $2,400 a year for property tax and $1,000 a year for insurance. I think insurance, I know based on other rentals, you can probably get it a little bit cheaper than that, but we'll just use $1,000. It's going to be $927.52 a month is your principal, interest, taxes, insurance. So if you take that and using that 1% rule, we're going to say this property rents for $1,500 a month. So after our mortgage, insurance, and
taxes,
and
our
covered,
and our mortgage payment.
Correct.
So we have leftover. We
principal,
have
interest, taxes, and insurance. We're going to have $572.48.
Yeah.
So from that $572.48, that's not all profit.
Nope.
What's going to come out of that? So we'll use
property management.
We'll use your management as a rule of thumb just to go off of a number. So if you're going to take this property over for us, it's going to cost $100 a month.
Yep.
What other things do I need to account for as an investor?
Well, I would also account for average. So you're, on top of your property management fees, you're going to have tenant placement fees, which ideally shouldn't be very often. Hopefully that tenant stays for 3 or 4 years, somewhere in there. You're going to have a renewal fee, which is very minuscule in this grand scheme of things. The property management cost, like I said, build that off your monthly cost. When you find a tenant or you have vacancy, that's going to be the other side. So 5%.
I'm not going to worry about any of your miscellaneous costs.
Yeah, don't worry about that stuff.
I'm going to calculate the monthly fee of $100.
Correct. We just want the monthly stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to calculate vacancy. And these are some of the things that you got to look at as an investor is vacancy. And depending on where it is, if it's a multifamily, vacancy will statistically be a little bit lower because it's going to average out. You've got more doors to eat up some of that. I run vacancy on a single family, somewhere around that 7% mark. Some people are going to say you're crazy, run it lower because I know it's going to be a desirable area. It's just
we normally run it at 5.
I find 7%. I run everything conservatively.
Yep.
So using my numbers, I say 7%. Okay. So 7% of 1,500 is
somewhere around $100.
$105.
Yep.
So we've got 100 for management. We got 105 for vacancy.
You can almost assure that you're going to have maintenance involved, obviously.
Correct. Which you as a full service property manager are going to cover a lot of that. But if I'm looking at it from, again, a surface level, I can't calculate all of your fees, your renewal fees, this, that, and the other I can, after the fact, I can build in for that. But if we're going to say, again, cleaning and maintenance,
average cleaning and maintenance fees over the course of 12 months on an average decent property that's already ready to go. And by the way, this $150,000, that better be turnkey. If you're buying that, obviously that cannot be turnkey because your numbers will not work.
We're assuming turnkey here.
Yeah, we're assuming a turnkey rental for sure. If it's a turnkey rental, ideally, and everything's ready to go, ideally you should be looking about probably less than $1,200 a year. So basically $100 a month for the most part. Sometimes you may go 2 years where you may not have anything but a couple plumbing issues, and it might be $400.
Correct.
It might be 1 year when you have to replace the HVAC.
So because of that, some of the deferred maintenance, I generally run everything at 10%.
Yep.
Which would be, again, $150 a month, depending on how much you've got left in your roof, your HVAC, stuff like that. Maybe you're going to want to run it at 15. For argument's sake, let's run it at 10. And let's run it at. I had 15 in here. Let's run it at 12.5 for argument's sake, and see what that runs. So that's going to be
$125 a month, obviously.
No, because we're at $1,500 a month rental. So it's going to be $187.50.
$187.50. He's ran all these numbers, guys. I haven't ran these through yet. So taking all that out, so you have your maintenance, you have your vacancy. Yeah, you have your maintenance, you have your vacancy, and you have obviously your property management fees. Those are the three things that everybody kind of forgets when they run their numbers. So even with the leftover $570, do we have anything else to add to that?
No, those are the main ones that I account for when I'm running, looking at a deal.
So after that, and these are very conservative numbers. So after that, on this particular property, accounting all those numbers, you're looking at a total of $177.50 left over after that. $200,
correct.
$177 in passive income.
So everybody's different. A lot of guys on bigger pockets don't care. They say, "Hey, look, I'm covering all my expenses. If I make $150 or $200 a door after I've covered everything and accounted for maintenance, they count that as a win."
Yep.
So they would look at an investment like this and say, "Okay, we've accounted for property management. We've accounted for all of our mortgage coverage, our insurance, our taxes. We've accounted for vacancy and maintenance, and we're going to still make $175 a month."
And let's explain something to people that maybe are listening to this and they don't exactly know that if investing in real estate's for them. $177 a month doesn't seem like a whole lot of money. Okay, and that's not where typical investors are going to make their big money. They're making it off of not only the monthly. Now, let's say that you have 10 of these properties, and you have 10 of these properties, and we're going to times that by $177.50. You're looking at $1,700, almost $1,800 a month. Okay, that now we're getting a significant amount of money. The issue with that as well is a lot of these property investors, they're going to do that. They're going to do cash on cash refis. Okay, so they're going to do that stuff out. So they're going to be able to put more money down on the next house. Okay, assuming that appreciation is continually working for them. Okay, when the market tanks is when people get in trouble. Which the market's tanked basically twice in our existence. Okay, well, once in my existence, twice in modern history. Obviously, we have the Great Depression and the dot-com bust, whatever we want to call that, of 2009, 2010, 2011. Okay, so, or I guess 2007 is really when it kind of started. But
I think wasn't the .com early 2000s?
I don't know.
The mortgage crisis was.
What do we call it? What do we call it in the last episode? The Big Short. Yeah.
There you go.
So the Big Short. The Big Short happened in 07, 08, 09. It just kind of went downhill from there. So that being said, is people are looking for the long game. They're not looking for the short term. If you're looking for a short term gain on investing in real estate, you need to go find something else to invest in. Typically, that's just not going to be what you're going to find. Typically,
that's probably the biggest misconception I would say when it comes to real estate. You'll show somebody a number and they say, "Why the heck would you invest in a rental property for $170 a month? That seems like a waste of time." But to the point, look, if it all comes down to me, it's about financial freedom. So if you can build up that portfolio over X amount of years and your lifestyle accounts for $3,000 a month worth of expenses, well, maybe you only need 15 rentals. And guess what? Technically, you just bought yourself financial freedom. There's your retirement plan. If you never change your lifestyle, you don't technically have to work. You can cover your bills.
Yep.
That's exactly would right. I suggest
on top of
making that and quitting your job? No, but
probably not.
That's ultimately how you look at it.
Correct.
Everybody thinks you're going to have one property and you're going to make $5,000 a month, and if you're not going to, why would you do it? And again, it's at the end of the day, it's a work. It's not. It's not easy. It's not a set it and forget it type of deal.
Correct. Yeah, and a lot of people, when they get to the point, you're big time real estate investors. They have another job. They're a CEO of a company. They're a really successful agent. They're whatever they are. Whatever they do is fine. A lot of things. What they're going to do is they're also going to put more money to accelerate the mortgages down. Okay, so they're going to all of a sudden turn that 30-year mortgage into a 15-year mortgage, and once you have that money paid off, a lot of these people won't even take money out on these properties. So they're going to take that $177 that they get extra a month, and they're just going to put it right back into the mortgage. Okay, and even though that little thing, I don't have an amortization schedule broken down on this, but if you average an extra $177 on a payment of a $150,000 house, that's probably, and it sounds crazy, but I'm telling you from being my background, that's probably going to cut that mortgage payment off about 5 to 6 years. Okay, because that extra that you're paying each month is going directly to the principal, not the interest. Okay, so that's going to accelerate that down payment, not down payment, that's going to accelerate the payment down of the mortgage that much faster. Now, once you get that property paid off, and let's say you're a 35-year-old guy and you have one property, and all of a sudden at in 24 years, you're 59 years old, getting ready to retire, and now we have this $1,200 a month house that is paid off free and clear. There's $1,200 a month in income. Okay, now there's still maintenance, there's still cost on that, obviously, but that's a heck of a lot better than that $177, right?
Your cash flow could go from, because to your point, there's still going to be other costs like,
Correct.
Maintenance and taxes and insurance, but
Absolutely.
Your cash flow on that property may go from 170 to 570 or 670. And that's huge if you're going to times that out by 10, 15, 20 properties.
Yeah, so the key is it's always going to be the long game. It's never the short gain. Unless you're somebody who runs into $500,000 cash and doesn't know what to do with it. You say, hey, let's go buy 4 rental properties, because you can take $500,000 and get 3% growth in the stock market, if you're lucky, by the way, these days, or you can take $500,000 and invest it at the 1% rule. So you're going to get $5,000 a month in income.
So
for however many years.
Real quick, I broke the numbers down on your monthly cash flow. So how do you figure out what your cash on cash return is? Is you're going to take that monthly cash flow, you're going to times it by 12, and then you're going to divide that by what you put for a down payment. And that's going to give you 7.2% return on your cash. So after all your maintenance, things like that are accounted for, you've made just over 7% on your money. And on top of that, that doesn't account for the equity pay down, because you're doing that every month as well.
Correct. Yep.
So that's, again, then where can you put your money to get 7%? That's like, again, you're going to pull up your zip codes. Well, this particular one, you're going to get a 7% return on your cash. Where in the market can I place my cash? That's where you start to say, all right, maybe I'm going to take a riskier investment, like you're going to invest in a riskier stock. Well, I'm going to invest in a riskier area of town, or maybe a 10% return on cash, or an 11%. Or, you know what? I'm getting older. I need to make safer investments. I'm going to park the money down by the beach where it's appreciating quicker, but it's more expensive. Or, in a more established part of town that's safer, and maybe you're only going to get a 4 or 5% return on your cash.
Jack's Beach, by the way, your beach properties, your 1%, your 1% on Jack's Beach is 0.6. So 0.6. So if you're spending $100,000 on a property, which you can't find, by the way, $100,000, you're making I just brain freeze. $100,000 investment is going to make you a $600 rent. Not exactly where you want to place your money. So don't necessarily invest in Jack's Beach as a investor, if you will. But like I was looking at somebody who has $500,000, and this probably comes back to our previous podcast of Grant Cardone and those guys. If I had $500,000, okay, I could go invest that in the stock market and whatnot. But if I had $500,000 and at the 1% rule, if I took that $500,000 and turned that into $5,000 a month in cash flow, okay, this is obviously very aggressive numbers because I did not take out vacancy. I didn't take out any of that stuff. But let's just talk about it for this grand scheme of things. $500,000 times, or $5,000 times 12 is $60,000 per year. $60,000 per year if you were to hold on to those properties, because that's the key that we've talked about here. This is the long game. Okay, if you were to hold on to those properties for 30 years, okay, and you bought these all cash, you would have turned in $500,000 to $1.8 million. That's where the rich get richer.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a little bit different conversation than what we're having with the average real estate investor, but that gives you a pretty good idea on how money can make you more money.
I don't know where the quote came from, but I've heard it on another podcast. Life is a marathon. Train for a marathon.
Yeah.
And it ties in greatly with this. So, all right. Well, that's pretty much
what I got. I just wanted to go through that.
That was, I guess, the short and sweet breakdown on how we're going to look at, surface level of an investment and where can kind of make return wise, cash on cash, things like that.
Yeah, and guys, we'll break down more episodes. We kind of got in a rush today, to be perfectly honest with you, due to our busy weeks here. We are in the midst of the busy season, and we are both very busy, which is great. Don't get me wrong; I'm not upset at all. But we rushed this podcast a bit. So if you guys have any questions, you can reach me at 904-574-1958, or hit me up at mattysells.com, which is my email. And Ryan, I think they can reach you at your 9 URLs and 18 different, emails. So just give us one, please, today.
Just go to those. Ryan.robbins@era.com.
There you go.
904-382-0573.
Awesome.
So that's that. I'm done.
You're done. It's a Monday. We're gonna get.
You know what I'm creating? You know what I'm working on creating is one website. We're gonna give out one website that's gonna have your contact,
all of our information,
whatever.
All of it? The whole thing?
We're going to make it easy for everybody.
Don't lie to people. Don't lie to people. See. All right, guys. We're out of here. Appreciate it.
See ya.
See ya.